So, what if loneliness wasn't something to be cured, but maybe a calling to be answered? Today, we're going to dive into the really moving story of a woman named Laurence. She discovers that her deepest, most painful solitude was actually the preparation for her greatest purpose. It's this profound spiritual lesson, all wrapped up in a very human, very real life. This right here, this single idea, is the absolute heart of her story. Loneliness was his preparation. I mean, it feels completely backwards, doesn't it? How on earth can being isolated prepare you for something good? That's the big question we're going to explore as we follow Laurence's incredible journey. To really understand just how deep her loneliness was, we first have to see the life she lost, the beautiful, simple life she had before everything changed. Laurence wasn't chasing some grand dream. Her whole world was built on these small, faith-filled moments of joy. She found God in the ordinary stuff. Her home was just alive. You can almost feel the rhythm of her life, can't you? It wasn't just a schedule, it was the symphony of connection. The sound of her husband's laugh, the echo of her son Patrick's footsteps through the house. For her, these were the signs of God's presence. Her joy was right there, in that beautiful togetherness. But, as we all know, life happens. Seasons change. And for Laurence, the bright, warm summer of her life was about to fade into a very long, very quiet winter. This is where her story takes that first, heartbreaking turn, with the arrival of silence. After she nursed her husband through his illness, he passed away. And this line just says it all. The silence that filled her home, it wasn't just a lack of noise. It was a physical presence, a heavy, heavy weight, where all that life and laughter used to be. And on top of that, there was this second, slower kind of loss. You can see it here, the gradual fading of her son, Patrick. He got caught up in his own world, work and life, and just slowly drifted away. And what's so powerful is that Laurence never blamed him. She just prayed, which somehow makes her growing solitude feel even deeper. So here she is, in a house that's completely silent. And what she does next, this is the turning point for the entire story. In her absolute darkest moment, she makes a choice. Not with her actions, but with one single powerful prayer. And this is really a question for all of us, isn't it? When you feel that weight, that ache of loneliness, what's your first instinct? Is it to just ask for it to go away? To pray for relief? Laurence was right there, facing that exact choice. And her answer changed everything. And this is it. This is the prayer. So simple, but my gosh, so profound. Lord, if I must be alone, let me still be useful. See, she's not asking to escape her situation. She's asking for a purpose inside of it. This is the moment she stops just enduring her loneliness and starts to embrace it as a brand new mission. So what happened next? Well, it wasn't some magic miracle that just erased her loneliness. Instead, her prayer was answered by completely transforming what her loneliness meant. The empty space around her didn't go away, but her idea of what that space was, that was about to change completely. This is the big shift right here. What used to be a void, this empty, scary space full of loss, it became a vessel, a sacred space ready to be filled. Not with what she lost, but with service, and with a whole new kind of love for other people. And so she started filling that vessel. And her new purpose, it wasn't anything grand or famous. It was small, it was consistent, and it was deeply personal. She started filling that space with these simple acts of love, feeding school children, really listening to her neighbors, taking care of animals. She just gave, and she never kept score. For years, she just kept planting these little seeds of kindness, never really expecting anything back. And now we get the harvest. This is the part of the story where all the love she gave away so freely starts to flow right back to her in the most unexpected and beautiful ways. Because when Laurence eventually got old and sick, she wasn't alone, not at all. The very community she had been quietly serving all those years, they rallied around her. The kids she'd fed, the neighbors she'd comforted, they all came back. They brought her food, medicine, and the most important thing, they brought their presence. She had built a whole new family without even trying. And this is when her son, Patrick, finally comes back home, and he has this absolutely stunning realization. He was expecting to find his mother forgotten, all alone, But instead, he finds her at the very center of this thriving community. She hadn't been abandoned, she had been planted. Her solitude was the very soil that allowed these deep roots of community to grow. And her story doesn't even end there. After she recovered, she moved to the city and found a whole new calling with orphaned children. They all called her Grandma Laurence, and in their laughter, she found this final, beautiful healing. It just goes to show, a heart that's been expanded by service, it never, ever runs out of love to give. So when you take a step back and you look at her entire life, the joy, the loss, the prayer, the service, and then all the love that came back to her, you start to see this kind of divine architecture. Every single piece had a purpose. And that brings us right back to where we started. But now, this sentence just hits differently, doesn't it? Now we get it. Her loneliness was never a punishment for what she'd lost. It was the space her heart needed to grow, big enough to love a whole village and then a generation of children. It prepared her for a love that was bigger than any she had ever known. And that really leaves us with this final thought. Laurence's story is this invitation to maybe look at our own lives a little differently, to ask ourselves, what if we stopped fighting those periods of loneliness and instead asked, how can this be used? What purpose might we find? What could our own seasons of silence be preparing us for?